All right, Fantasy Nation, what's going on? This is Danny Kitchen here, the Fantasy Umpire. I thought I'd hop on Saturday night here now that we have some Saturday games, or a Saturday game, I should say. We were supposed to have two games tonight, but the Las Vegas Raiders game against the Cleveland Browns got moved to Tuesday due to a bit of a COVID outbreak. So I was hoping to talk about a couple of key matchups this week. We're actually going to just talk about the Patriots and Colts tonight, and we'll get to the rest of the Sunday slate and the Monday and now Tuesday games as well a little bit later on. So there's kind of a lot to unpack with the Patriots and Colts game in and of itself. You know, it's a great rivalry, one of the best in the NFL right now. We're obviously used to seeing Tom Brady versus Peyton Manning in this rivalry. Now we get Mac Jones and Carson Wentz. So, same teams, different coach on the Colts side of things from what we're used to, but same coach for the Pats, obviously, Bill Belichick. We can expect the same things there. And then, different QBs, different style of play for sure. We're not going to see the gunslinger mentality of Brady versus Manning. So, anyway, a lot to unpack here. We'll start with the spread, money line, and over under, my predictions there, and then we can jump into the game plan and what I think we can expect to see from both teams offensively and a little bit defensively too. But for the sake of these videos, I try to stick to the fantasy purpose, fantasy relevancy with the players and schemes and all of that. So we'll start with the point spread. Patriots at 2.5 right now, dogs on the road. So I like them to cover the plus 2.5 on the road. I also think they win this game outright. The money line right now is Patriots plus 120. So, that means if you bet $10, you're going to win 22. I like the chances there. And so I would hammer that money line as well. Over under is sitting at 45.5. I'm going to take the under there. I don't think there's a lot of offense in this one. I think the Patriots score about 25 points, but I don't think the Colts are going to be able to keep up. So, a lot here. The Patriots, both teams are coming off a bye, first of all. Week 14, neither team played. Patriots are coming off that big win over Buffalo, in Buffalo, kind of cold weather, weird weather, windy. It was your typical Buffalo December game. And the Pats won 14-10. Just not a lot of offense there. I think Mac Jones threw the ball 2 or 3 times. It was just crazy that they ran the ball down their throats. I think they rushed for over 200 yards, and the Bills just couldn't stop them. And honestly, I think we see more of the same. Obviously, Mac Jones is going to throw more than 2 or 3 times in this game. I expect him to air it out 20-25 times, and you're going to have to beat this Colts team, but they're still going to run the ball. We'll get to their side of things. We'll get to the injuries in a second, but overall, I think they have some success on the ground. I think they find a lot of success in the air. The Colts defense really doesn't scare me that much. They've got a couple of key injuries, most notably Antoine Woods, their defensive tackle, is out. On the offensive side of things, they're missing their center, Ryan Kelly. So, that's a huge loss. Ryan Kelly's going to hurt their run game, pass protection a little bit as well. But when you step back and look at it, and I should first cover the Colts week 13 game as well. They blew out Houston, so they're coming into this one feeling pretty good about themselves. I think it was 31-0, a shutout. Their defense is obviously feeling good, but again, Houston Texans, New England Patriots, it's night and day. Very big difference in what those two teams are doing and the direction they're heading right now. So we'll get to the Colts first, and then I'll touch on the Patriots. I mentioned the two key injuries. Ryan Kelly of the Colts, their center, is out in this one. Antoine Woods, defensive tackle, he is out. They have a couple of questionable tags, but it seems like all of those players are gonna play tonight. And again, as of this recording, it's 5:30 Eastern time, so we're about 3 hours from kickoff. A lot could change between now and then in terms of actives and inactives. So we should get the final word on actives and inactives in probably about an hour or two. So If you watch this video before then, just make sure you tune in to Twitter or anywhere you get your local team active and inactive lists. So yeah, the Patriots are obviously, their blueprint to stopping teams is taking away what they do best. And that's what Bill Belichick has always done his entire career. He takes away the one thing that you are great at. And so the Colts are great at running the ball. Their star players, Jonathan Taylor, Carson Wentz has been more of a game manager, although he's picked up his play of late. I do think Belichick tries to stop the run. I don't know how successful he'll be because Jonathan Taylor is just a freak of nature, but let's just say that he is successful, and I think he will be, and I think he's going to stack the box. He'll have 8 men in the box, and I think he's going to force Wentz to throw the ball. And so, Frank Reich, he needs to find different ways to get Taylor the ball. It's going to be halfback screens. It's going to be halfback wheel routes. He's gonna, I think Jonathan Taylor catches a lot of passes, but I don't think he's gonna rush 25, 30 times. I also think that we see some Nyheim Hines in this game. He's gonna be a factor. And then the passing game as well. Michael Pittman Jr. is probably the most fantasy relevant wide receiver in that offense, but I don't like him in this one. The New England defense has been playing out of their mind. J.C. Jackson's a freak. He's gonna get paid. I expect Pittman to see a lot of him tonight, so I would not be firing up Pittman. He's a low-end wide receiver 3 for me. He can always score a touchdown, especially if they get in the red zone, which I think they will. So he's a threat to score there. Just big body receiver. If he ever learns to use the big body, he's one of those guys that's just so frustrating because he's massive, but he plays like he's a slot receiver sometimes. You kind of want him to use that body like a Tony Gonzalez or, maybe that's not the best example, like a Mike Evans type. So, but the wide receiver that I really like in Indy, maybe not so much this week as much as it is rest of season and going forward looking into next season, is Ashton Dulin. Listen to this, guys. Last 4 weeks for Dulin: 5 targets, 5 catches, 103 yards, and 2 touchdowns. That's efficiency. That's what we want to see in our wide receivers as far as fantasy relevance, guys that are projected to take off. He profiles as an elite receiver. He just needs the looks. Carson Wentz is starting to find trust in him, although he's only had 1 target in each of the past 2 games. He caught both of those targets. He's caught all 5 of his last targets, as I mentioned. And on the season, I think he only has maybe 2 or 3 targets that he didn't catch. I can't call them drops because I don't have the stats in front of me, but 2 or 3 passes that went his way that he didn't catch out of maybe 12 to 15 total. But anyway, I think he goes over 30 or 40 receiving yards tonight. I think he finds the end zone. That's my bold prediction. If you want an anytime touchdown bet with good odds, I would take the Ashton Dulin anytime touchdown bet in this game. But for the most part, I'm staying away from most of the Indianapolis players offensively for fantasy purposes. You got to fire up Jonathan Taylor, of course. He's a beast, but he might struggle in this game. I would not be surprised if he finishes outside of the top 10 at the running back position. But of course, I wouldn't be surprised if he finishes top 2 or 3. So he's one of those guys who can break a long one at any point in time. So you got to fire him up and just hope for the best, but temper expectations. In DFS, I am not playing him. Stay far away from him in DFS. I don't think he's worth his price tag. Far better values than Jonathan Taylor this week. One thing to note too, the Colts' remaining schedule, as they are second in the AFC South starting this week, 2 games back of Tennessee. They are at Arizona next week, home against Las Vegas, and then at Jacksonville. So tough game on the road in Arizona, pretty difficult game at home against Las Vegas, although they'll probably be favored. That's still not an easy win. And then Jacksonville. In Jacksonville, they are no longer tethered to the Urban Meyer cancer. So that could be a different Jacksonville team, maybe not as easy. Again, divisional team. Typically those games are not blowouts. Although the Colts, they bucked that trend against Houston last week. It does seem like the AFC South, divisional rivalries or divisional matchups are, they're just different. AFC East, you got the Pats and the Bills. They always duke it out. Tough, close, hard-fought games. And it seems like the AFC South we get more blowouts than other divisions, but I'm not sure that there's any factual proof of that. That's just what it seems. But anyway, that schedule is that's not easy. 2 games back to Tennessee. You're gonna have to win 2 of those 3, potentially all of them if they lose to the Patriots. So my point being, this is a must-win game for the Indianapolis Colts tonight, even more so than the Patriots. So I expect them to come out guns blazing and doing all they can to come up with a win. Now let's get to the Patriots side of things. Much more to uncover here. As I mentioned, Patriots are coming off that bye. They're also coming off that big win against the Bills in Week 13, 14-10, low-scoring game. But they fought it out, and it was the typical Bill Belichick game. We would have thought that this team coming out of their bye was going to be more healthy than they are, but that's far from the case. We'll start with Mac Jones. Despite appearing on the injury report with a left thumb injury, he was a full participant all week, and I guess he doesn't carry any injury designation tonight, so that's a good thing. He's full go. Again, left thumb, it's not even his throwing hand, so no worries there. O-lineman David Andrews is questionable with a shoulder injury. Defensive tackle Christian Barmore, questionable with a knee injury. Lineman Trent Brown, calf, wrist, questionable. Kicker Nick Folk, you rarely see kickers on the injury list. Left knee questionable, and running back Damian Harris is out with a hamstring injury. So a lot of injuries here, and key injuries too. You talk about that O-line, David Andrews, Trent Brown. Those guys are key cogs on that O-line. If they're out, that just changes the game plan. It changes things for the Patriots. I still think they're going to want to run the ball. No Damian Harris means big game for Ramondre Stevenson. He's a top 10 running back play for me this week, potentially top 5 really. Brandon Bolden with a knee injury is also questionable as of right now. Again, we're 2.5 hours from kickoff. Things could change. Maybe he's active, maybe he's not. If he's inactive, big game for Stevenson. Even if he's active, big game for Stevenson. But if Bolden is inactive, expect to see some J.J. Taylor tonight. If Bolden is active, I think he could see a lot of work himself as kind of that change of pace back behind Stevenson. A couple of things to note too. Patriots defensive end Josh Uche with his ankle injury. He was designated to return from IR on Tuesday, but he's still going to miss tonight's game, it sounds like. So don't expect to see him. Safety Kyle Duggar he's been out with COVID. He practiced for the first time this week since testing positive 2 weeks ago. I'm not sure if he's going to play. It sounds like he will. Don't quote me on that, but it sounds like he will play. Again, that's an upgrade for that defense. If he doesn't play, upgrade for the defense going forward, but they've been just fine without him, so it doesn't change a lot this week. On the receiving end of things, I think Kendrick Bourne is the most fantasy relevant wide receiver in New England. I also like Jacoby Myers and Nelson Aguilar this week, but like I said, they're going to want to air it out. They're going to run it down their throats. They're going to beat you with Ramondre Stevenson and Brandon Bolden if he's healthy. But you're going to have to pass to beat the Colts too. They're going to do the same thing the Patriots are doing defensively. They're going to stack the box. They're going to make a rookie quarterback beat them through the air. And I trust Mac Jones more than I trust Carson Wentz. It's that simple. More so because I trust the Patriots defense more than the Colts defense, but still, it's to me, I'm all in on the Pats. This is a great matchup. I was shocked to see them as the 2.5 point underdog. Shocked to see them as an underdog, period, I guess because they're on the road naturally, but I think they win this game, guys, and I really don't think you would be sweating it out if you took them in the money line. So anyway, let's get back to this. Patriots have won and covered 7 straight games as well. Just a little tidbit, that's pretty incredible. 7-game winning streak. They've covered all 7 games. They're in first in the AFC East, 2-game lead on Buffalo. They face Buffalo next week, I believe. Yes, home against Buffalo. Following 2 weeks, they're home against Jacksonville and then in Miami. Pretty much a cakewalk schedule. I think they have no trouble with Jacksonville, no trouble with Miami. Buffalo at home. We'll see what the weather's like, but again, I think the Pats are a better team right now. Maybe the Bills get some revenge next week, but to me, if they win this week against the Colts, things are looking up for them. I really see this team making a strong late season push, and I wouldn't be surprised to see them go a couple rounds in the playoffs as well. But yeah, I don't think they're Super Bowl contenders just yet. I wouldn't lose my mind over the Pats. But anyway, let's get back to this week. So I did some digging on the last time that Bill Belichick faced Carson Wentz, and that was week 11 of the 2019 season. Of course, Wentz was the quarterback for the Philadelphia Eagles at the time. Patriots won that game 17-10, but listen to this. Eagles won the time of possession, 32 minutes and 28. Kind of odd, right? Typically, Belichick likes to keep the offense off the field. He runs the ball. He usually wins time of possession, but Belichick still came away with the win, and he forced Wentz to beat him through the air, which is, if you think about the way that Eagles team was built, it makes sense. They could beat you on the ground. They couldn't beat you through the air, so that's what Belichick did. He said, go ahead and throw it on me. Let's see what you can do. Wentz threw the ball 40 times in that game for 214 yards and a touchdown. No picks, but still, 214 yards on 40 passes and 1 touchdown. He was sacked 5 times for 40 yards, and the Eagles had 21 rushing attempts for 80 total yards. So just typical Bill Belichick defense. Throw the ball. We're going to take away the run. Let's see if you can beat us through the air. At the time they had Stephon Gilmore, a little bit different, but still, like I mentioned, J.C. Jackson is no slouch. This defense for the Pats is elite right now. They are playing better than just about any defense in the league. And that game in 2019 for Carson Wentz was the worst one of his season in 4 major categories. Completion percentage, 50%. Touchdowns, so the least amount of touchdowns he threw in that entire season, 1 touchdown in that game. Sacked the most times in that game, 5 times. Yards per attempt, 5.35 yards per attempt. That's very telling, and that's exactly what Belichick wants you to do. Takes away the run, wants you to throw deep. There's nothing deep, so you check down, you keep it short. Low yards per attempt, right? And it was the second worst quarterback rating of the season for Wentz, 74.4 QB rating. So it is exactly what we expect from Belichick. I don't know why everyone freaked out over the Bills game. That was what was to be expected. Bad weather. He's going to run the ball. Rookie quarterback on the road. Tough environment. A little bit different today. Not quite as tough of an environment. It's indoors. The Pats aren't very healthy right now. The Colts defense doesn't really scare you. The Colts offense doesn't really scare you that much. So anyway, guys, I think this one's pretty straightforward. I wanted to share that tidbit just because I think we can expect to see Belichick play Wentz the same way, even though he's on a different team and a different offense with a different coach. I still think that we're going to see a similar style on defense with the Patriots, and Belichick's going to he's going to dare them to throw. They have arguably the best running back in the game right now, and Belichick knows that, and he's not going to allow Jonathan Taylor to beat him on the ground. Frank Reich has to find creative ways to get him the ball in the backfield or out in space, maybe get him on a wheel route. We know that he can catch the deep ball and let him run. Maybe put Jonathan Taylor in the slot and get him out in the open against a linebacker where he can make a quick move and catch a slant route and see if he can take it to the house. So they're going to have to be creative. I don't think it works. I think the Patriots win this game outright. Again, the spread, Patriots plus 2.5, hammer that. Patriots money line, a little less optimistic there, but still, I think they cover. I think they win. Plus 120, $10 bet wins $22, guys. And I like the under, 45.5 points. That's too many. This is going to be a defensive battle, grinded out game. Patriots are going to run. That pretty much covers it. Like I said, we were expecting to talk about 2 Saturday night games. One of them got moved. There's been a huge COVID outbreak, just like much of the world. There's been a COVID outbreak within these NFL locker rooms, and so big outbreak for the Cleveland Browns, which means that game now gets pushed to Tuesday. And so we are left with 1 Saturday night game, but still should be a good one. Pats, Colts, playoff implications on the AFC side of things. Pats look like they're going to lock up the AFC East. A win tonight will all but secure that, Colts are still competing for the AFC South title, a couple games back of Tennessee. Don't think they catch them, but a win tonight would go a long way, and I would change my opinion if they did beat the Pats. So yeah, guys, appreciate you joining me. I'm going to try to churn out some more content for the Sunday, Monday, and now Tuesday slate tomorrow. So I'm going to get up early and try to do some studying on those games and see if I can come up with some fantasy relevant help for you guys and go over my usual spread, money line, over-unders, fantasy sit starts, DFS plays, all that fun stuff. So appreciate you joining me again. Give me a follow on Twitter. It's @FantasyUmpire. I'm also on Instagram @FantasyUmpire. And then this video will be posted on YouTube. So go ahead and follow me there, subscribe, like my video, dislike it, comment, let me know what I can do better. And appreciate you guys joining me. Thanks for watching.